I used to think you were the cleverest man I'd ever met. Like, they had a great deal of respect for each other.
Are they still married?
They are, I think, technically annulled because she married Ramsay Bolton. The marriage was never consummated.
Did Littlefinger get it annulled?
Yeah, Littlefinger like apparently had a septa annul it because it was never consummated. So and then we get the Arya and Jon reunion basically right after that, which was kind of fun because she creeps up on him, you know, and he doesn't know who she is, I don't think, because one of the things that I realized on my rewatch was that they don't mention Littlefinger at all. So there's no like, hey, where's Lord Baelish? So I'm wondering if Jon knows what happened, that, you know, how many like ravens was Sansa sending Jon during this whole thing? Like, does he know that what Lord Baelish did and how Arya executed him? I don't think he knows any of this stuff. So
I think more important to him was all of his reunions and getting in there.
Yeah.
So like, who cares where?
But he's good. I mean, that's going to matter. The fact that Arya is like elite assassin will matter.
I know. It's like he clearly
he has no idea.
Oh yeah,
he has no idea.
Have you used it? No, once or twice.
Tell him that you tear people's faces off.
They'll get to that.
Yeah, but I don't think he has any idea really what Bran is either. You know, and I think that
well, no one's explained.
Nobody's really explained
whatever
that.
Bran has.
Whatever Bran has. You know,
I guess Sam will try to explain that.
Yeah,
maybe.
But this scene also had like one of my favorite exchanges in the episode where Jon is, you know, kind of like, oh, where were you? I really could have used you with Sansa. She thinks she's smarter than everybody, and Arya's like, she's the smartest person I've ever met. And I loved that because so much character growth for Arya.
I know, it's gonna make
well,
me
they've all
cry.
And Sansa.
And Sansa, yeah.
life-changing
And not with
events.
Jon.
Yeah, Jon still has the image of them as little girls, but he doesn't know them well enough
stunted
yet.
because he likes Dany. Who do you like her?
But he doesn't, I don't think he spent enough time with either of his sisters to know how much they've changed. Like, he did leave the North in Sansa's hands, which was a great show of respect, but I don't think he really knows how politically smart she is.
Well, yeah, she's the only one who thought it was the food.
Yeah, I mean, really, she is, but she's also the only one who's like, Cersei is still a threat. She was saying it all last season. She's the first one to acknowledge it out loud this season. She's the only one who's like politically like on the ball here.
Right.
So the Golden Company arrived in Westeros, and looks like there's a lot of them. But we had like another really great moment in the episode, or a couple of moments where like Cersei's just so sad that there are no elephants.
That was the dumbest line in the entire show.
I didn't notice it until I watched it again, but when they pan to, you know, after she and Euron spend the night together, her first line is, I really wanted the elephant.
Yeah.
She like
The dumbest
casually
line.
says it under her breath. I loved
Do you
it.
think that's why we're supposed to think she's crying? Or
No, I don't think that's why she's crying.
Because she's taken another lover now, and
Or there could be.
It's all for show.
I mean, well, she was
I don't
crying in
trust
private
a single
though.
thing
She
she
was
does.
crying in private though. So there's something.
you think she's so much of a sociopath that even alone?
Honestly, she probably
Yes.
is. But like,
She blew up an entire building.
she's basically a terrorist. So we get the interchange too of you want a queen, you earn her, but then she sleeps with Euron anyway. And I was wondering why. Is she like that desperate for companionship?
No,
Was she
it's
trying
all
to
a
secure the
plan.
alliance?
I think she
It's a plan.
you know, throwing in breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
You can't
but I thought that was a
underestimate
carrot
anything she
that she was.
does.
I mean,
Everything she does is a move.
But now it's not a carrot anymore.
it's not a carrot anymore. So what does she have that's going to keep him loyal to her? Because his whole thing was, I'm going to sleep with the queen. So now that he's done that, is he going to stay loyal? Is that still his goal? He did leave by saying, I'm going to put a prince in his. You know, so maybe.
I don't get why she did that.
It's to cover up the pregnancy.
But
Well,
she
we
was
were gonna
drinking
talk about-
wine.
So we were going to talk about that because she is drinking the wine where she refused to
She
drink wine
refused
last
it in the
season
last episode.
because she was pregnant. So
Maybe
allegedly.
she's not pregnant
But
anymore.
or maybe she never was, and it was all a ploy to get Jaime and Tyrion to be on her side.
Yeah.
because they both believed her and wanted, well, Jaime at the time.
Oh, time out too. A lot of time has passed, right?
Well, and that's the thing.
Wouldn't she be showing?
That's what I was going to say too. Euron just saw her completely naked. He put his hand on her stomach and said, "I'm going to put a prince in your belly." So he obviously doesn't think she's pregnant. But meanwhile, Jon and Dany made it to Winterfell, so at least weeks have passed and she's not showing at all.
It's got to be a couple of months.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, is it 3 weeks it takes them or a month?
I mean, I guess it depends on the woman, but like but she was pregnant like midway through or early, like in season 7. So like, what shouldn't she be showing by the first episode of season 8?
You would think.
Yeah, definitely.
So
but
I
they
don't
also
think
have such a warped.
the time.
It's
that who knows at this
it's
point.
Like knowledge, so.
Yeah. Which also leads me to believe there's not going to be any child between Jon and Dany, because like because they play with time so much, and it seems like events are going to start happening really quickly based on in the next episode after this. I don't think there's going to be time for a pregnancy in 6 episodes.
I don't want that anyway.
I don't really want it either.
I want her to find out that she's his aunt.
I think that's going to happen in the next episode. That's going to happen in the next episode. So we did have Yara and Euron before that, where Yara tells him that he picked the losing side. But that was good. We got to see Yara she's still alive. We cut to
still tough.
Still tough.
She can just die off though.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really care about
I really appreciated her and well, we'll get to it. Her and Beyond.
Yeah,
and a great scene.
So Bronn has to listen to like gross dragon death stories while he's just trying to relax, and then Qyburn comes in there. With the crossbow that was used to slaughter Lord Tywin, Tywin, he then gives it to Bronn and tells him that the Queen has a poetic sense of justice, and she would like for him to use the crossbow to kill both Jaime and Tyrion.
Crazy.
Jaime.
But what do we think Bronn's going to do? Because Bronn obviously wants money, wealth, power, and Cersei is a path. But he likes Jaime.
I don't think he'll do it.
I don't think he'll do it either. I think this is going to be what sends him to the north. There's also just kind of like the tricky, like, and this is a behind the scenes thing. The actor who played Bronn, whose name escapes me, and Lena, who plays Cersei, they can't be together on screen.
I think we talked about that.
We talked about it last season. Yeah. They had a romance years ago. It ended very badly. They will not be together.
Which is why when Dany and the dragons came last year, he went away for that scene. When they all met in King's Landing, he had to leave the set. So like they had his character go do something else.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I don't think he can be on Cersei's side very, very much longer, just in terms of practicality.
Their real life
relationship. He's got to go to Winterfell.
It's that volatile.
It was that bad.
Crazy. I'm surprised the showrunners are like allowing that.
I know.
But everybody else seems so chill. But it seems like they've been very respectful of this situation for the entire time this series.
Yeah, they don't put either. There's no scene of them ever together.
They're never together.
That's interesting.
So Tyrion does rescue Yara, so he makes good on his promise that he's going to save her. And they have a really wonderful scene together where she gives him her leave as his queen to go to Winterfell and fight on behalf of the Starks. And it was just really nice, like that she was acknowledging that he has this loyalty and he wants to fight with this,
Her plan is interesting too.
I think it is interesting.
For Dany to retreat, like, was that foreshadowing? Are they gonna is it gonna be Dany, or like will other characters survive, realize that they need to leave and start a new civilization there?
But that's really smart, because we know they can't swim. The Iron Irons are completely vulnerable. She can take them like that, and then there is a place where people can go to escape this horrible threat if things go bad. So it's a good practical. The ladies of the show are very practical. Meanwhile, you're on not as practical leader of the Iron Islands. So we have Tyrion, Davos, and Varys are discussing a marriage alliance between Dany and Jon, which I think we all knew was probably going to come. And we cut to Dany and Jon standing together in a field, and they have kind of a flirtatious conversation, but Dany then kind of low-key threatens Sansa.
His sister.
Yeah, I am her queen if she can't respect me, and then they're interrupted so you can't hear what happens.
Well,
but there's a lot of tension there.
And my thing is like, John, like, who are you going to be loyal to? If Dany's threatening your sister, I mean, come on now.
Well, and that's what Arya reminded him while they had their reunion. You know, he said, I'm Sansa's family too, and Arya hugged him and said, don't forget that.
Yeah.
So, like, hopefully he remembers that, like, Sansa is his family, and she's not bad.
Dany shouldn't be threatening Jon's sister. That's not cool.
That's not a good way to start out the relationship. That's a little toxic.
Yeah.
So the dragons aren't eating. Apparently it's because they don't like the north, probably aren't accustomed to the cool weather. But then, you know, Rhaegal goes immediately to Jon, and we get the first scene of Jon as a dragon rider, which was very comedic. It was very cute, hanging on his legs.
I like that they made it so that he wasn't a natural.
Yeah.
That added to the scene.
I mean, I kind of expected him to climb off the back of that dragon and vomit. He was having such a hard time. He was having such a hard time. But you know, the dragons really haven't let many people near them. Like, really, it's just Dany. There was a one time in the scene under the pyramid where Tyrion took their collar off, but the dragons are very intelligent and intuitive, and I think they knew that he was trying to free them. Yeah. And other than that, they never see anybody touch them except for Dany and Jon, and you would wonder why they wouldn't like make them kind of wonder or like why is this blood-eating, man-eating monster letting me pet it like a kitten? Like, you know, there's
just think they're a good couple.
I guess because there was the scene where they land near the waterfall, and Jon makes the comment that he has to keep the queen warm. And the dragons are very, like, intensely watching them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the dragons seem to, like, really approve, which is...
kind of creepy.
Which was kind of creepy. But it was like, yeah, make more little Targaryens. Like, go for it. And it was just kind of, strange. But the dragon CGI budget has for sure... Like, I think we were promised more dragons this season, and already episode 1 has really delivered. We got gorgeous shots of the dragons flying over Winterfell. This gorgeous dragon riding shot where they're dipping into the ravine. It had like Independence Day kind of callbacks of like driving through the ravine, and it had the shots of like their faces and really like detailed shots of the dragons. But there was also, I wanted to say, you know, and I had mentioned in our trailer video that sometimes Marvel's a little deceptive with what they put into the trailer, and that I suspected that Game of Thrones was too. So, like, in the scene where, in the trailer, when Jon and Dany are approaching the dragons, they're looking into each other's eyes, and they're gazing, and you're like, there's a connection, but that's not how it happened in the show. So there, if you go back and look at the trailer, you see it looks like a very romantic couple connected, like they're approaching the dragons as a team, and they just kind of, like, walked up to the dragons in the show. So there was some deceitful stuff in the trailer. So I don't know what else we'll have from the trailers that might be deceitful, but there was at least that one.
Also,
thing.
I didn't go back and watch it again, but a lot of the dragon riding scenes were included in that initial trailer. But you don't see Jon.
But you don't see
Jon.
Jon. Yeah. So we do have trailer deception. So we have no idea what's coming, is what I'm trying to say. The trailer lied to us. They do that.
No, it's adding to the hype.
Yeah, it adds to the hype. And we had Davos, Tyrion, and Varys on my rewatch. I saw them watching Jon, and they all looked very surprised to see Jon on the back of a dragon.
Why are they surprised?
Because nobody rides him except for Dany.
But now
Actually,
Jon's her
no,
boyfriend.
Oh heavens, no! That's shocking.
It is.
And also,
it is shocking.
I don't think anyone but Dany had any clue how accepting the dragons were of Jon.
Yeah, and this is book stuff, but there's in the Fire and Blood, the recent compilation of Targaryen stories, there is a scene where they need more dragon riders for a war, and they have more dragons than they do Targaryens, and so people try to mount dragons, and they all get eaten.
I guess as as the audience, we know that Jon's a Targaryen. I keep on forgetting that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's like so obvious to me. Like it's like, why don't you all just know by now?
Right. Well, they'll probably know, and I'm guessing they'll find out really soon.
Yeah, Sam's gonna make sure that they do.
He is. Sam is gonna make sure.
Now.
Sam is
whatever. Let's go to happier times though. Like we'll get Gendry blacksmith. Yeah, well, happier in comparison. Gendry's blacksmithing up some dragonglass weapons, and we get the Sandor and Arya reunion.
That was great.
Which was great. It was tension filled, and it was good. That was a good reunion. Then we get the Gendry and Arya reunion.
Gendry bores me.
I love Gendry.
Yeah,
but he's not like Arya's exciting.
How many
know.
types could Arya have? Arya sort of flirted with him.
Yeah,
that's the most unlikely thing for the person she's become.
I did see an interesting thing. Somebody posted that the conversation between Robert and Ned in one of the first episodes. Robert's like, "Oh, I have a son. You have a daughter.
Let's unite our houses.
Let's unite them." And then it's like, "Whoa, Gendry is his son.
Yep.
Arya's his daughter. Are they going to get together?"
There's going to be so many things coming back because another one, and I'm jumping ahead, is when the last thing Ned says to Jon Snow before he leaves is, "The next time we see each other, I will tell you about your mother."
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time we see Jon in front of Ned's statue, he finds out about his mother. But let's talk about. There's a little bit of tension between Jon and Sansa in their final scene together in this episode. And Sansa does ask the question that I've kind of been wondering too about Jon's motivations for bending the knee. Did he do it because he wanted to protect the North, or did he do it because he was falling in love with Dany?
I think because he wanted.
Why can't he do it for both?
Yeah.
I know it doesn't have to be either. It doesn't.
I wanted an explanation from him. I hated that they panned out.
I know. I hated that they panned out. But what I did.
Frustrated.
Yeah, me too. I was frustrated. But what I did like is that he said, before she asked him that question, she says she is not her father. Mm-hmm. But then they go to Sam, and Dany is. Like 30 seconds later, Dany tells Sam that she executed his father and brother. And how did she do that? She did that by fire. How did her father kill Ned's father and brother? By fire.
And also she was cold when she told him. She didn't seem to have any sort of sympathy.
But I think that's her queenness.
I have a feeling they'll have another scene in a couple episodes.
I hope Sam hates her.
Well, Sam does hate her.
He does.
And it's not just that, because he didn't have a lot of love for his father. He did love his brother, but it's not just that. It leaves his mother and sister vulnerable in the South, where now they have no male relatives to protect them. Sam is not a leader of that house. He's not present in there. So now they're coming to a very dangerous time. Not even just that it's winter and that they're in a war-torn country, but this other threat is coming, and they have no protection at all.
Right. Dany just coldly killed him.
And probably took the Tarly army too, because they were probably part of the Lannister force that kneeled to her. So they're completely unprotected. And he runs away. He's very upset. Bran is in the courtyard waiting for an old friend. We'll get back to that.
That's the best.
That's the best. It was the best.
And I love Sam and Bran together too, because they're like buddies now, and Sam's the only one that understands them.
Well, they put the whole thing together about the Targaryen.
Yeah.
Whatever Bran has.
That was a great line.
Bran's definitely my favorite character now.
And so we get finally Jon Snow after 27 years and 5 books and 7 seasons of. We finally get Jon finds out that he's Aegon Targaryen.
He's not a bastard.
6th of his name, King of the Andals and the 7 Kingdoms and all that stuff. So Jon doesn't believe it at first because he's like, why Ned wouldn't lie? He's the most honorable man I've ever met. And Sam explains Robert would have killed you. He had to keep it secret. And then he seems to kind of be in shock. He's taking it kind of well, but he still seems to be in shock. And then Sam goes right in with his anti-Dany, you are the true heir to the throne, which he's right.
Yeah.
With the lines of succession, he's right. And it's not her throne, so this is not treason. It's your throne.
And I don't think Sam even knows. Now Jon has his own dragon.
Yeah, he doesn't even know that. Although Rhaegal is smaller than Drogon, and those side by side shots, they really like.
Yeah,
Drogon
is
bigger. We don't want to have a dance of the dragons though.
Jon is smaller too.
That's true.
But do you think Dany's gonna be like mad? When
No,
she finds
I mean,
out?
well,
I
again,
think so.
I think
It
she'll
could go anywhere.
I think that's what they're
Yeah.
setting us up for. That Dany's
Yeah.
gonna be mad, and what if she's like, "This is treason, and how can we prove that you're actually,
Yeah.
who you
Proof
say
is
you
going
are?"
to be a big thing.
Yeah, the proof.
The proof is I rode on Rhaegal.
I mean,
all
visualize
I need is for Bran to start telling her intimate things about her life. That
Yeah.
I also
her wedding night, like he
Yeah.
told Sansa. Yeah.
I think that part of her already knows, though.
Yeah.
I think she knows for the most part. I mean, he's the only one that can ride the dragon.
I don't know
other
if she
than
knows.
her.
No, but she's gonna be mad though. She's like so power hungry
I know.
now.
Well, and
Yeah.
they very much this past season and even this episode have made a huge deal on I am the queen because I said so. This is my claim. This
Yeah,
is my
she's a
right.
spoiled
You need to
brat.
bend the knee to me.
Mhm.
Like that has been her whole thing for the last 8 episodes.
Yeah.
So I think that they are setting us up for she's gonna be mad, but they might do a 180 on us like they did with Sansa and Arya last season, where instead of her being angry, she's like, "I have family again. I have an ally."
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
she's gonna be
I
mad.
can see it
because
either
she
way.
wants to be. It's more than just like she wants to be the queen now.
It might
you know?
take him a while to come up with this and tell people, because he's got to process this.
But
Well,
they
and
don't
it's
have a
longer
while.
Time.
The
Yeah.
whites
Yeah.
are coming in the
Yeah.
next
Plus,
episode.
Sam might be
so-
Sam might be the one to tell people because now he has reason to hate Dany.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he might just be like, John, if you're not going to tell people, I am.
But which
I-
Dany
yeah.
can also
Mhm.
use against him, saying you're just promoting.
But nobody's
your-
going to set Sam on fire. John won't let her.
You don't know that.
John
Anything could
won't
happen
let
at
her.
this
Yeah.
point.
Targaryens are wild cards. They love setting stuff on fire. Who knows? So speaking of setting things on fire,
Oh.
so we get Tormund, Beric, Dolores, Ed at the Umber Holdfast, where they had kind of, it's very creepy. Everything's very quiet. There are puddles of blood on the ground. They're walking through, and then Tormund and Dolores Ed run into each other, and Dolores said, "Stay away, he has blue eyes," and Tormund, "I always have blue eyes."
We're comic relief.
That was
Right.
yeah, that was great. And then, have you found anyone? And Dolores Ed shows him what they found, and they found another one of those crazy spiral symbols that we've been seeing all season long, except this is probably the most horrific version of it that we've ever seen. So in the center is poor little Ned Umber, who we said we would get back to him, and we're coming true on this promise. Poor little Ned Umber is at the center of the spiral, and the spiral is made out of 7 points, and the 7 points are made out of limbs.
And so, but that begs the question though, is where are the rest of the bodies, and are they now?
They're with the army. They're part of the army. They're marching
Yeah,
south. They're marching south with minus some arms and
So
legs.
that's another entire whole house. That's
Yeah,
wiped
an entire line wiped out. The Umbers are gone.
I knew when they said little Ned by himself, that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I knew it. They should never have. That was so irresponsible of them, sending the little boy by himself.
Well, I'm sure he was.
Well,
I'm sure he
yeah,
had guards
yeah.
in like an army
Yeah,
and stuff
there
like that.
were-
But still, like, because no lord travels anywhere without an entourage.
Well, this is,
That's-
no, but they're poor. They don't really have much,
Well, they're lesser lords, but they're still lords. They're not small. They have households. Like he had a much bigger household than.
There were a
Small
lot of
ones.
adult movies.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong with that. But anyway,
But no,
still.
but still, it was a gamble that maybe they didn't realize how close the White Walkers really were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're like a day away now.
Yeah, they're very close. And so obviously Beric sets little Ned Umber on fire when he comes alive and reveals himself to be a white with that horrible scream, which when I was hearing that I was like, is that how they communicate to each other though? Like, is he sending like a message to like, and they have to.
One of them, that episode 7, Beyond the Wall, when they captured the white,
Yeah.
that was.
Yep.
Yeah.
He set that scream off.
That's why I was
Pain,
like,
yeah.
is that how they communicate with each other?
Oh, it's horrible.
So
Horrible.
now we have, we know that Tormund makes it back to Winterfell because we see a scene with him and Jon Snow on the next episode. But there should be a little bit maybe of a journey because they have to somehow get around the army of the dead to make it to Winterfell.
They're gonna die.
Yeah, they're not though, because we see them in the next in the scenes of the
They
next
have to-
episode.
They're
They'll
gonna
die.
die. Yeah.
No, they're all gonna die at Winterfell. Yeah, well, everybody's gonna die at Winterfell. I think the last 3 episodes
A
are
lot
just
of
gonna be
people
Cersei.
will die.
So speaking of going back to Winterfell, Jaime arrives at Winterfell for the first time since
That's
season
yes.
1.
And
And there's Bran. And the last scene
Waiting
is
for his
them
old
with their
friend.
eye contact. Yep, waiting for his old friend.
That was the best.
Which was
I'm
it's
just
the
waiting
best.
for an old friend.
I am very much looking forward to the next episode where Jaime's one of my favorite characters, but I'm really excited for him with Dany being like, "You killed my father," and Bran being like, "You threw me out of a window. You paralyzed me." Like,
I hope they don't hurt Jaime.
so did anybody have like favorite reunions? Because there was a lot. I mean, this was a very reunion-heavy episode. It was a very character-heavy episode. Not a lot of action except towards the end. So, like, out of all the reunions, of which we had a ton, we had Tyrion with Yara, we had Arya with Jon, Arya with Sandor, Arya with Gendry, Sansa and Tyrion,
John with Sam.
Jon with Sam.
That was
Probably Arya and John.
Arya and Jon,
Yeah.
Going back to the first episode, she was so little. She was so cute.
and they were always so close.
Wait, they
Yeah.
haven't seen each other since.
Since the first episode, I think, first or second episode.
Yeah, because that's when he went north
Yeah.
to the wall.
Yeah.
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 You know, we
wow.
forget that there isn't mass communication, and they may never find things out, or they find things out when the Raven arrives. Or
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they did that really well. It really called back to their original departing.
It did, and they because he gave her a needle the last time he saw her, and then needle came up
And she
again.
still has
And
it.
she still has it.
Yeah, and she's only used it once or twice.
Once or twice. Well, she has killed people in multiple other ways, so maybe that's true. I don't know. We'll have to go back and count needle deaths. I'm remembering like 2 of them right off the bat. Really, the one with the stable boy in the first season, and then in like the second or third, maybe third or fourth seasons, where she got back Polliver like through the neck. Yeah, she killed a stable boy on her escape.
It was
from
an
King's
accident.
Landing.
Wasn't it an accident?
Well, he startled her. She turned around and went like that.
Yeah, and she
Yeah,
didn't
really
realize
good.
like the
Remember
force of
that.
it.
Yeah.
Just went right into him.
So actually,
She
you're
stuck
right.
him with
most
the
of
end.
most of the deaths, she wasn't lying.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought of that. Most of the deaths that she's been responsible for, she hasn't used needles.
Yeah, she's used the dagger.
She
She's
used the
poisoned.
dagger for- yeah.
She stabbed Meryn
Yeah.
Trent in the eyes.
Oh God.
She used needle for the girl in season 8.
Oh yes.
Sorry,
Okay,
season,
the wait.
season
Okay,
5.
so
yeah,
it's been
the
3
wait,
times. So she's
Yeah.
lying.
There's gotta be a couple in there.
Maybe
too.
she didn't count the first one.
Yeah, maybe the first one doesn't count
Oh, it does count though.
because
She
somebody
killed
died.
somebody.
Yeah. So my favorite reunion was just Sansa and Tyrion.
That was
I really loved that interplay and the respect that they have for each other, and even though their families were always at odds, like the way that I always thought their relationship in the book, when I was reading the books and watching the show, was almost a missed opportunity because they could have been like such great allies for each other, but there was so much history and drama in between them.
And the whole dynamic of their relationship has shifted too, because when they first knew each other, Tyrion was much more experienced than she was, and she was just that little girl that didn't know how to defend herself.
But he always had great respect for her.
Yeah, he did.
He was one of the people that did not underestimate her.
Yeah.
I mean,
he saw something in her.
yes, he did. I mean, he was concerned and viewed her as a child, or someone very young, which I mean, she was inexperienced.
But now she's
but
a force to be reckoned with.
right.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's surprised.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise
Well-
him. That was really well done.
My favorite reunion was Jamie and Brad.
So what do we have any theories or expectations for the next episode?
Someone's gonna
There's
die
gonna
with
be a
Jamie,
lot
though.
of Jamie problems.
There's gonna be a lot of Jamie
Yeah.
problems.
We only saw Jamie for 30 seconds, so we're gonna see a lot more of him.
Although he was basically on trial in the preview for the next episode.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. They're probably gonna have to put him on trial.
Danny was saying, "Oh, my brother told me
Right,
stories
yeah.
of how
How we
our
would kill
family
you.
was killed and how we'll get back."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So you can see she's had everything.
Well, who can come to Jamie's defense?
Tyrion. He's basically the only one, right?
Brienne.
Brienne,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where is she?
Well, Brienne.
But
Brienne's
she wasn't
there.
in the first episode.
She will be though. She'll
She
be in the
was-
next one. I
Yeah.
think.
She
Yeah,
was-
she has to
was
be
in the
because I love
receiving
Brienne.
line.
Yeah.
And Tormund's coming back to Winterfell, and there's nothing I want more this whole season than to see Brienne and Tormund. I'm shipping them hard.
Well, I think also the fact, I mean, Jamie has, I mean, at this point, it probably would be nice to die without being tortured, but I think he's probably at the point where, okay, fine, kill me. But he's really, he doesn't know about Bran. He has no way of knowing that Bran probably has already figured out that Cersei's army is
Well, maybe Bran might be the unsuspected ally.
Actually,
Bran,
probably
Bran
no,
might
Bran really
realize
could,
that.
because Bran can
Yeah.
confirm that.
Bran can confirm that King Aerys was going to burn the city to the ground.
Yes,
And
so
I'm sure he also knows that Jaime has something he has to do,
Yeah.
meaning deal with
Or-
Cersei.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think-
play,
yeah.
So I don't see Jamie dying next episode.
No.
I don't.
No,
I don't
no.
necessarily see him.
We only have 5 left.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to get to be like who does which episode.
Are they gonna
I
go
think a lot of them are
longer?
going to go into season 3. I mean, on
In
episode
episode
3.
three, yeah.
Are they
Yeah.
gonna get longer?
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
one is just an hour, and then everyone after that is going to go beyond an hour.
Like an
And-
hour 20 minutes.
An hour 20 minutes. So we
'Cause
are,
that seems short.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was almost exactly an hour long. It did feel like more should have or could have happened,
It
but
was still build up.
yeah, it was still built up.
It was a good one though.
It was. I liked it a lot. I know some people were like, I wanted a grisly death right away, but I was like, no, I love all this character stuff because now I'm gonna feel sadder when they die.
Yeah, they needed to get all of it out of the way
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
to make room for the action.
Yeah.
Because they had so much that they had to cover in that episode.
They really
With
did.
everybody
Yeah.
coming together,
Yeah.
there's just no way around having all of
No,
those
it really was a
conversations.
setup. And I liked they did so well with the constant activity in Winterfell too, all the preparations and the people coming in.
Yeah.
So everything about the episode, the background, shots was people getting ready,
You're right. There was even
Yeah.
the shots of all the tents out in the field and stuff. You
Mhm.
could tell like they're really gearing up. And
Yeah.
that was always
Yeah.
going on in the background. Good catch. Good
So
detail.
that was good. I have to say, I have mixed feelings about the beginning. We were talking in the season 7 roundup about how much we liked how season 7 opened with the Walder Frey
Yeah.
Yeah.
banquet
Yeah.
scene. And so you were right into action, which was sort of ambiguous. You're like, is this a flashback? What is this? And this is the first time I think they've opened like with previously on.
Yeah. It was a huge previously on too. It was a long one.
And I was sort of like, why are they doing this? Do they think there are people who haven't started watching before? I
Like
don't know.
literally
So-
everybody watched.
Yeah. So I mean, it was okay, but
It was like a 7-minute long previously on. That was
was,
really long.
yeah. and I was sort of like, let's get on with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had that, but in general I really liked the episode, but I did have mixed feelings
I
about.
was having the whole
Yeah.
Well, join us next week, 8:30 on Monday. We had to do it on a Tuesday this week because we were not here yesterday. But we will be here 8:30 Monday to talk about episode 2 and everything that does and does not happen with poor Jamie.
And there's no name for this one yet, right?
I haven't seen a name, but the name of this one was Winterfell.
Yeah.
I think they're being kind of stingy. They really don't want us to know
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
So
Even though this episode was leaked.
What?
It was leaked before it was actually aired on HBO.
Really?
Yeah.
we must have done a really good
Oh,
job of
yeah.
avoiding spoilers and stuff.
Yeah.
Though,
I didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode got leaked. That's
But
what I read.
all right, well, we'll see you guys next week, and hopefully no spoilers, no leaks. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Yeah, I read that. Where did I read it? How it got leaked.
DirecTV's it dropped at 5 o'clock or something instead
Ah.
of 9.
So it got
And
leaked
then